In today's lesson, we're going to be simplifying more complicated expressions. There are two boxes for a reason. Now, eventually, I'm going to take away the boxes. You're going to make the lines yourself, but today I want you to just focus on something. You need to simplify the expression as much as possible. This is how it's done, okay? You have a base x to a power of 4, the power is circled. Base x to the power of 2, okay? What you do here is on this x, I've written down x one time, so you have to do something with the powers. It's multiplication, so you add 4 plus 2 is 6. Okay. Now, if you have a letter to the power, you can't simplify it, you just bring it over. If you have a number with the power, you have to actually simplify it. Okay. Next one, y. Now look at your y's. One has a 9th power. The other, if it doesn't have a power, I put a 1. Okay? So we have a 9 plus a 1. 9 plus 1 is 10. Okay? Y to the 10th cannot be simplified. It will just be y to the 10th. Okay, this time we have 3 y's. This first one's to the 3rd power. This next one would be to the 1 power. And this one here would be to the 3rd power. So what you do, you combine them into 1. You take the first 3 plus the 1 plus the 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 3 is 7. That cannot be simplified. That would stay y to the 7th. A to the 4th times a to the 3rd times a to the 10th. That's how that's read. Base a to the 4th power times base a to the 3rd power times base a to the 10th. So a is your only base in the problem. So the first a is to the 4th. Plus, your next base is to the 3rd. Plus, and then a 10. 4 plus 3 plus 10 is 17. So you have a to the 17th power. Okay, now, next problem, next page. You have an x. Well, this is my only x. It has a power of 5, but it is in parentheses. When the base and its exponent are in parentheses, you need to draw a rainbow and put a times dot. 5 times 2 is 10. You just put 10 down. You cannot simplify x to the 10th. That is your answer. Okay. Now, next problem. We have a base of y. Its power is a 4, but it is in parentheses. So that's a power to a power. So you times. 4 times 6 is 24. Next problem. You have a 5 and an x. You have 2 bases this time. All the other problems up to this have only had 1. So let's go look at the 5. Put a times dot between the 2 bases. Now, the 5 does not have a power. It is to the 1 power, but it is in parentheses. So you distribute, you take 1 times the outside. 1 times 2 is 2. Then x. X's power is to the 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Now, you can simplify 5 to the 2nd. It's not 5 times 2. You write 2 5s because it's a 2 power and you multiply. 5 times 5 is 25. So this becomes 25. And the other one has a letter, so it's x to the 2nd. Okay, that's your answer. 25 times x to the 2nd. Now, I have written the bases down for you. Put times dots in between. So let's go to our 7. Up in the problem, the 7's power would be a 1 if there's nothing there. It is in parentheses. If it is in parentheses, you take the 1 to the 2, and that means you're timesing. A rainbow always means times. 1 times 2 is 2. Now go to your x, okay? A 1, okay? This is the only x I have. Its power is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Now the y, go find your y, 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Now, I can figure out 7 to the second. I write 2 7s and multiply them. 7 times 7 is 49. So this is replaced with the number 49. This is a letter. It cannot be simplified. Put the letter down with its power. This is a letter. It cannot be simplified. Put the letter down with its power. It's that simple. Okay, next problem. The bases are written. Go up to the 10 in the problem. Put a times dot, please, between the bases. And you put a 10 to the 1, but it's in parentheses. So I should see a rainbow. 1 to 2, the outside of the parentheses. 1 times 2 is 2. Now x, now you're like, there's 2 x's. Here's what you do when you have 2 x's, okay? You put a plus sign, okay? And then the first x, you take 6 times 2. Do the one on the left first, okay? You put whatever that is in front of the plus. If there's 2, you put a 1 plus sign. Now, if there's 3, you put 2 plus signs. Okay, if there would happen to be 4, you put 3. So we fill in we find the amount before the plus. 6 times 2 is 12. You put a 12 before the plus. Now your other x has a 2, but it's not in parentheses, so you don't rainbow it. You just put a 2 there. And then 12 plus 2 you got to figure out. That's 14. Okay, now we go over here. 10 to the second can be simplified. That would be 2 10s multiplied. Not 10 times 10 is 100. Times x to the 14th power. Okay. Next, base 8. Go find the 8 in the problem. If it doesn't have a power on it, it's a 1. And is it in parentheses? Yes. So you take 1 times 2. That's 2. Now m, how many m's do you see? You see 2 of them, so you put a plus sign. You take the m on the left, it's to the 4th, but it's in parentheses, so we need to take 4 times 2. What is 4 times 2? It's 8, so you put 8 in front. Now go to the m on the right, it's just a 3, okay? 8 plus 3 is 11, so it's m to the power of 11. Now, because remember, at times you add the powers, and then that's a power to power. That's not, okay? So it's just 4 times 2, 8 plus 3. Okay, 8 to the second, that's 8 times 8, and that's 64. Then m to the 11th, you can't simplify the letter. Okay. Next one, we have a 6, a 2, and a d, okay? So let's go find the 6 up there. There's only one of them, so I do not put a plus, okay? I put a 1. These are your bases. You put a 1. Circle it. Is that in a parentheses? No, it is not, so you don't rainbow it. You just put a 1 down here, okay? Now, go to your 2. Find your 2 up in the problem. It's to the 1 power. Is it in parentheses? It is. So we need to take the 1 times the 4 to find the power. 1 times 4 is 4, so you put a little 4 there. Now D, okay? There's 2 D's, so I expect to see a plus sign. You need to look how many there are, a plus. First D is to the second. Is that in a parentheses? No. So don't rainbow it. Just put 2 down here. And the D on the right is for here. Now it's a 5, but it's in parentheses, so you take 5 times 4. That's 20. So 2 plus 20 is 22. So we have a 22 power to the D. Now, we can simplify 6 to the first. If the power is 1, you can drop the 1 and it's just 6. You can simplify 2 to the 4th. That's 2 times 2 times 2. It's 4 2's because you have a 4th power. That's how power works. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. Then d to the 22nd power. Okay, I can't simplify if it's a letter. Now, here's one thing you can do. You need to times that until you run into the letter. 16 times 6, and I don't hit that times because that runs into a letter. 16 times 6 is 96. So you cross out till you get to the letter, it's 96 times d to the 22nd power. Next one, 20 and x are the bases. Go find your 20. It's to the 1. Is it in parentheses? Yes. So I take the little 1 times the little 2 outside. 1 times 2 is 2. It's the inside to the outside. Then x. How many x's? We got 2 of them, so I put a plus. When you get to a letter, you got to count how many of them you have. First, you got 3. 3 times 2 is 6. Then, this other x. 7 times 2 is 14. So 6 plus 14 is 20. So 20 to the second needs to be simplified. If you have a number as the base with a power, you need to figure out what it is. 20 times 20 is 400. And the variable x to the 20th power. And you can't multiply because you run right into the x. Okay, next page. 3 times 2 times x. Go find the 3. So the 1 power, is it in parentheses? Yup. So to find the power, you take the inside 1 times the outside 3. What's 1 times 3? 3. Now I go to the 2. It's to the 1. It's in parentheses. Inside 1, outside is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Now when you get to the letters, you got to count how many of them there are. There's 2 of them, so we put a plus sign. Here is the first x. What's its power? It's a 5 in parentheses, so you don't put 5 down. You take 5 times 3. That's 15. Then the other x to the 7th power. 7 times 2. That's 14. So then you add 15 plus 14. 15 plus 14 is 29. Now, 3 to the 3rd, you write the base out 3 times. 3, 3, 3. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. You put 27 where that was. 2 to the 2nd, you put 2 2's. You multiply them, that's 4. Then x to the 29th, you can't, it's a letter, so you can't. Now you need to multiply till you hit your variable, your letter. It's 27 times 4, and I don't times again because I run right into the letter. It's 108, okay? You put a dot for a reason, that means you multiply it. 128 times x to the 29th power. Okay, this time here, I forgot to put the bases, I apologize, okay? The bases I want are 10 times 4 times n. I forgot to write those. So 10. 10 to the 1. Okay. Is it in parentheses? Yes. Okay. 1 times 2 is 2. Then 4. Put a 1. Is it in parentheses? Yes. 1 times 3 is 3. Then n. There's 2 factors of n, so you put a plus sign and you do your first one on the left. It's 1, but I don't put 1 because it's in parentheses. 1 times 2 is 2. Then on my other n is to the 3rd. 3 times 3 is 9. 2 plus 9 is 11. Okay. Now I can find what 10 to the 2nd equals. I put 2 10s and multiply them. That's 100. So this is replaced with 100. Then 4 to the 3rd. 4 times 4, 3 4s because it's to the 3rd. And you times them. 64. You replace that with 64. Then you get your letter, which you can't do anything about. Now multiply till you run into the letter. So I got 100 times 64, and I don't times again because that's going to be with the letter. 6,400. Okay. Next problem. Base is B. Okay. How many B's you got? You got 2. One on the left's a 3. It ain't in parentheses, so I don't want to see a rainbow. It's a 3. Not in parentheses, it's 6. 3 plus 6 is 9. Okay. B to the 9th can't be simplified. That's the answer. Okay. Next problem. You got X. You only have one X, so I don't put a plus sign. I see X one time. So 3 times 4 is 12. Okay. So X to the 12th, can't simplify it. 7 times Y, put the times dot in there, so I got a 7 to the 1st, okay? That is in parentheses, so you take 1 times 2. Well, it's 2. That gives me a 2 power. Y, it's to the 1st, in parentheses, 1 times 2 is 2. Now, you can simplify the 7 to the 2nd by putting 2 7s there and multiplying them together. That's 49. You cannot simplify the letter. Now, 12 times X times Y. So a 12 to the 1 power. 1 times 3 is 3. Now X, how many X's are there? Just 1, so don't put a plus sign, okay? Then 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Then Y to the 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Now, I can simplify 12 to the 3rd. I put 12, 12, 12, and times them. 12 times 12 times 12 is 1,728. Times, you can't simplify a letter, you keep it the same. And I will not be doing any timesing here because you have 1,728, but then you times right into the letters, so you can't do it. Okay, next page. 3 and X. Here's 3 to the 1. Is it in parentheses? Yes. So you take 1 times 2. 1 times 2 is 2, so you put a 2 power on the 3. X, how many X's are there? There's 2. What do we do if there's 2? You put a plus sign. So you got to find the number here and here and then add them. So you go to your first X on the left. You have a 3. It's in parentheses. You got to take 3 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6. There's your first one. Now you got to find the one on the right. It's just a 4 and it ain't in parentheses, so you drop it. Drop it means, you just put it down there. So 3 times 2 is 6 plus 4. That's 10. Okay, now I can find what 3 to the 2nd is. You write 2 3's out and you times them. 3 times 3 is 9. You can't simplify the X to the 10th. Okay. 5 times 4 times Y. Okay. So 5, it's to the 1. Open your eyes. Is the 5 inside of a parentheses? No. So you just put a 1. Now, here's 4. 4, where are you at? Right there. Needs a power, you put a 1. Little 1. Is that in parentheses? Yes. You take 1 times 3. Then Y. Okay. There's 2 factors of Y, so you put a plus. And first you have a 2, so you put a 2, but that wasn't in parentheses. Well, that's why I'm not doing a rainbow. I'm just putting 2 down. Now, after the plus, you go to your other Y. It's to the 3rd in parentheses. 3 times 3 is 9. So 2 plus 9 is 11. Now, 5 to the 1st can simplify. That's just a 5. You don't, because it's just 1 5. 4 to the 3rd means 3 4s. 5 equals 5. 4 times 4 times 4, and that equals 64. Then I run into the letter, okay? Now you need to multiply that until you run into your letter. 5 times 64 320. Okay, these are your bases you have to look for. Kindly put those for you. So you go to your 5. 5 to the 1. Is that in parentheses? Yes. 1 times 2 is 2. 4 to the 1. Because your next base is a 4. Go to what? Do them in the order I've listed them. Okay. Find your big 4. It's to the 1. 1 times 3 is 3. So it's 4 to the 3rd power. Now A, how many A's do you see? You see 2. Okay. So you put a plus sign. First A on the left, it's to the 2, but it's in a parentheses. 2 times 2 is 4, goes there. Now to find what goes here, you go to your other A. You don't put a 2 down because it's in parentheses, so 2 times 3 is 6. 4 plus 6 is 10. Now B, how many B's do we have? Just the 1, so don't put a plus. Okay, if there's only 1, you don't plus. You go find your B to the 3rd. 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, 5 to the 2nd, you can simplify him. That equals 25. 4 to the 3rd, he gets simplified. It's 3 4s multiplied together. That's going to give me 64. Then the letter can't be simplified. When I get to the letters, I just write them. Now times till you run into a letter. It's just 25 times 64 times, then we're at a letter. So it's just 25 times 64. 1,600. Okay, 5. 5 to the 1 power. Okay. In parentheses we have it, so it needs to not be a 1, it needs to be whatever 1 times 3 is, which is 3. 2 to the 1. Well, that's in parentheses 2, so 1 times 3 is 3. Now you have 2 x's, so if I see 2 of the same letter, I put a plus sign. So x, 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Now my second x is with a 2. 2 times 3 is 6. So I find out what 3 plus 6 is, which is 9. And then I simplify what I can. 5 to the 3rd. That equals 125. Can you 2 to the 3rd? That equals 8. Then the letter cannot be simplified. We keep that with the exponent and we times till we run into the letter. So 125 times 8. Okay. 1,000. Times x to the 9th. That is your answer.